Hey, my name is Sulo King, and I'm about to share my story of how I got in the music industry. Ever since I was a little kid, I've always loved music. Music has always had a very prominent and important part of my life. There's something I can relate to. There was a whole world I could escape and just entrap myself into. I don't know where I'd be without music in my life. It's healing, it's therapeutic, it's my drug. I've partied, I've drank, I've made my mistakes. But yeah. This is my first video, so I just wanted to share how I got in the music industry to begin with. In the beginning, when I was a teenager, my father started dropping me off at a place called Soma, which was an all ages venue located in Linda Vista. It was the third location that Soma has been in. First being in downtown, which they call the Dungeon, and then the location I'm talking about now, which was in Linda Vista. And of course, most of you know the location right next to the sports arena. Anyways, my father would dump me off at this venue every weekend and let out my aggression and be around kids my age and mosh and have a good time. And I really just fell in love with the whole aspect of it. I saw kids in bands throwing their own shows and opening up for the heroes. So I knew that one day I would want all of it. Fast forward to the age 20. In the year 2000, I went to see an all-female metal band called Kitty. And I discovered them at a listening station at Tower Records. Remember those? Some of you millennials don't even know what a listening station is. Because everything's digital these days. And I'll get into all of that maybe with this video, maybe later. But I basically wanted to start this YouTube channel to just kind of share my history instead of feeling like Rocky Balboa in the movie Rocky Balboa telling old war stories at his restaurant. Instead, I'm sitting here in my living room with one of my heroes on the wall, my guitar, and one of my main passions in life, which is golf. Although I love to be active and I'm into fitness and everything, but this whole YouTube channel will go over different topics with each video. But first I wanted to share my life experience of music and being in the music industry. So at age 20, I go to see this band Kitty at Cane's Bar and Grill, a venue that used to be in Mission Beach. I believe is a sushi restaurant called Cannonball now. And I didn't really care for the opening acts, one of them being Disturbed, and I still don't really like Disturbed very much, which is funny. Ended up meeting a security guard who I struck up a long conversation with while I was waiting for Kitty to get on stage. I went to the show by myself. I'm a social butterfly, so I was just trying to make friends. And he took a liking to me, said, "Hey, I just turned 21. But you can have this job if you want, driving this golf cart around in the parking lot." And I thought, okay, this guy's probably just messing with me or trying to give me some false hope. Sure enough, I watched him walk over to the security manager, have a conversation quickly, walk back over. He said, "Yeah, you got the job. Just wait till the end of the show and talk to Tony. And then he'll set up a day and time for you to come in and just, basically fill out some paperwork." So I did. Showed up, got the job, no interview. Tony was funny. He was like, basically a monkey can do your job. Just drive around the parking lot once every 15 minutes and make sure no one's vandalizing or breaking into cars or, doing any stupid shit. And that's how I got my foot in the door. Through my first show, Halloween 2000. I used Canes as a way for me to hand out flyers and promote, because I watched kids back then still doing guerrilla marketing, flyering for their shows, not just at Canes but at other venues. Soma was not around at that time. Soma had closed shortly before the location in Linda Vista, which I was talking about earlier in this video. So Canes was the premier all ages venue in San Diego, and MTV Beach House was built in 2000, the year I started. Like, it was so rad. It was like so exciting, and the music scene was thriving back then. It was a totally different era than what it's like now. And I can't even imagine what the generations before me were like in the late 70s, 80s, 90s. But I was born in 1980. So I'm 38 now, been working in the music industry for 18 years. And went from driving a golf cart, being a security guard, to turning 21, getting introduced to a venue called Brick by Brick, which I eventually became the booking agent and talent buyer for. But at Canes, I met a man named Vincent Crudo. Everybody in the scene knows him as Big Vinny, his nickname, and also the name of his solo band he fronted. Vinny became my mentor. He was an audio engineer who worked for various different venues and introduced me to Brick by Brick. So while I was still working at Canes, I got a job working as a security guard at Brick by Brick, which I eventually worked my way up to barback because they thought I talked too much. And then the owner gave me a shot at doing some of my own shows. So I threw a couple weeknight shows, and I saw how indie rock was on the rise. And he's like, wow, you're bringing in like a whole like Casbah crowd. This is awesome. And eventually, in 6 to 8 months' time, I became the full-time booking agent and talent buyer for Brick by Brick after Mike Henderson stopped working there. And I owe Mike Hendo a lot of respect too. He took me under his wing as well, and I worked as his intern in the office. And when he quit, I was offered his position and ran with it until 2010. Got to book a lot of bands, make a lot of cool connections, like befriending the Adler family at Roxy, both Nick and Cisco Adler. Got to see Cheech and Chong reunite before the public did. Hang out and party on the Sunset Strip. I got to break a lot of cool up-and-coming bands. My claim to fame personally was I was the first person to bring Evanescence to San Diego. Brick by Brick was the first venue to bring Zac Brown Band to San Diego, and it was exciting. And it was a fun rock and roll ride. I was 22, the youngest talent buyer in San Diego at that time, for all I know, at any legitimate venue. Not a promoter. Anyone can be a promoter and throw their own show. I'm talking about being a talent buyer and booking agent. There's a big difference. Especially with all these people calling themselves promoters, like nightclub flyer guys call themselves promoters, or guest list guys in Vegas, you know. Anyways, so fast forward from 2002 to when I started working there to about 2008. The end of the summer of 2000, actually, the end of the summer of 2009 is when my career at Brick by Brick started coming to a halt. In 2008, the economy started getting bad. I started having nervous breakdowns and just kind of realizing that I needed a new profession and that I was becoming nothing more than a degenerate gambler. And at that time, I was literally gambling a lot too, trying to make money, trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. I was hitting a wall to the point where I was partying too much, and I just promoting was getting stale and old, and I was slacking. Anyways, economy pushed me out officially in 2010. I was laid off in the end of the summer in 2009, which was heartbreaking because that's all I knew how to do. I stuck around there unofficially until February 2010, just because that's all I knew how to do. And ironically, I hit the 8-year marker because I had started there February 2002 on my actual birthday, and then I ended my term like right around my birthday, cleared out my office. And that was like a very tough part of my life, and I knew going in that I was going to hit a very dark time of my life and try to figure out what I was going to do next, because for 10 years all I knew how to do was work at a music venue, book shows, network, socialize. I got into artist management. I did some production work, hated that. I've done lighting, I've done music consulting. I had a production company for 4 years. I got another venue going called The Jumping Turtle, which I was the head talent buyer and booking agent for. And the list goes on. I've been on the radio a million times. Pretty much worked not every aspect of it. Audio engineering, yeah, I'm not an audio nerd. I get it. I don't have the craft for that science. I realized that in college in 2000 to 2002. And it's funny because some of my classmates are some of the raddest audio engineers around now, or working for scoring companies that I've ran into. For example, one of them, which I thought then had the most prosperous future out of my classmates from, what school did I go to? Up in Miracosta, Oceanside. I ran into one of my classmates at a Fox Studios after party. He worked for the scoring company for the film I just watched. I was there because I knew the artist Gerard McMahon, who wrote the song Cry Little Sister, the theme song of the original movie Lost Boys. And it's ironic. It's a small world, but you know what? It's funny how I called that out then and saw how big of a success he was now. And I'll never forget our conversation that we had that night, because he was asking me what I was up to, and I was all like, I'm not big Hollywood like you, but this is what I've done. But he was still stoked, because the one thing he told me is he saw faith in me then, when I was a college student trying to study music and recording arts, and I realized I was an audio engineer and had more of a knack for producing, let alone being an executive producer, which I have been too. And I have so many different stories about my career and things that I could share with you for hours. But I just want to give you the brief rundown of my career in the music industry. So fast forward to 2010, going almost into 2011, I started working at a pawn shop called Unique Pawnbrokers. My best friend and longtime bandmate, Andy, had worked himself up from being a grunt employee to store manager to part owner of that pawn shop company, which at the time, while I worked there, opened up a second store and was almost ready to open up a third store. And now, unfortunately, they are closed. They closed in 2014. But Andy gave me some part-time work. His business partner decided to hire me full-time because he liked the way I dealt with people. But it was a humbling experience. No matter how depressed I thought I was, it made me realize that, what I'm doing is helping out the community and helping put, money back in people's pockets. And I realized how the economy had affected everyone, not just myself. I had nothing to complain about. When a construction worker, would come in the store, and this happened one time. Big burly dude. And he's like, I'm so embarrassed. I can't believe I have to pawn some of my tools. And I was like, let me tell you a little story about why I'm on this side of the counter, okay? You want to talk about swallowing your pride, right? So I did that, but in the process of that, my business partner now for my recording studio and one of my best friends, Frank Torres, came up with the idea one night after hanging out that we should open up a recording studio, which we still have, which is called Iacon Sound. We just celebrated our 6th year anniversary on October 1st. He had a year and a half left to go in school. He was in the Art Institute of California, top of his class, and graduated top of his class. So it gave us time to figure out how to open up a studio. But in that initial conversation, when he came up with the idea for it, he said, why don't we take the fact that, you know, I'm a amazing musician, composer, producer, engineer. I don't want to work for another studio. I want to either be freelance or own my own, but how cool would it be for us to have our own studio? We're both in bands. We have a place to rehearse and record in. And you're Mr. R.E. Gold from Entourage, business guru, you know, that doesn't take shit from anybody and pretty much gets what he wants, even if he has to be passive-aggressive or aggressive. You know, you don't really take no for an answer. You're a go-getter. And he saw the faith in me then, and he got me back on my feet, and I'll never forget that. And, yeah, that was my first actual commercial business that I started. Production company was a sole proprietorship, but I could do that anywhere. Anybody could do that. It's not that. I mean, well, I don't. That's apples and oranges, really. But we started the studio, and then we got it open. Let's see. We opened it October 1st, 2012, and it was a studio prior to that called Black Box Studios. It had the building kind of divided into two. One side is for monthly rehearsal spaces, where artists and bands could come in and rent monthly rehearsal space on a month-to-month basis, no contracts, for, you know, just a fixed price, and have 24/7 access to come in and out, store their gear, and make all the noise they want, and create whatever they wanted to create musically. And the other side was a fully equipped recording studio. So we fell in love with this location. I kind of knew the owner from, you know, my concert promoting days, and we negotiated a deal and set it up where we signed our lease 4 days after Frank graduated from college. And never forget it. So, like living a dream come true. Everyone laughed at me. Not everybody, but a lot of people laughed and snickered and said, whatever, you're not going to open up the studio. Willpower. Made a lot of mistakes. Was drinking a lot. Unhappy person, bitter, because all I knew how to do was throw shows. And it's like watching that castle crumble right in front of you. And it was a very humbling and kind of spiritual experience. I had that full-on awakening when I hit 30. Never forget it. The second that clock turned to midnight, I was at the Rainbow in LA, and just like, I had a Zach Morris moment where time kind of stood still and the background noise faded away for like 5 seconds. And I just realized that whatever's going to happen next is going to suck, but I'm going to figure it out. And I have a strong support system around me. I knew who my real friends were and where the loyalty really lied, and who wasn't trying to be a hypocrite and two-faced and just ride off my coattails. Because when you're out of the game, it takes us 6 months and you're irrelevant. Especially with the digital age and all the competition you have to put out there now. It's a lot harder to stay relevant. People think by doing what I'm doing now, you can just get out there and be a superstar. It's not that fucking easy. It's not. People are posting ridiculous shit every day and becoming viral sensations. All I'm trying to do is tell my story and share my wisdom of my past. Anyways, started up the studio, and that's what I'm currently doing now. It's now 2018. I started a valet parking business and personal transportation service a year after I opened up the studio. I opened up a DBA underneath Iacons LLC for my band, so it can act as an actual business and tax write-off, for licensing and any kind of royalty payments. Also, Iacon Sound is our record label. It's basically the mother company. And then I also got into the apps and games business. That's my latest venture, which I just got into. I released my first game last month called Bob vs. Zombies on the Google Play console. So check that out. If you have Google Play, figuring out how to release it on iOS on the App Store for Apple. So I'm working on that. But I got that set up just so I can release my next creation, my big creation, which is a social media based music app. I can't really talk about it right now for legal reasons, and I have to patent the idea, but I'm working on revolutionizing social media for musicians specifically and people in the music industry. And I'll share more along the way for that journey, but it's going to take a long time to flesh out the idea and finding the right app designer and whatnot. And yeah, I have a lot on my plate. My life has changed, and I just, instead of reflecting on the past and sitting in a bar or restaurant and telling new people old war stories, I figured I'd just forever share them here. And so I created a YouTube channel, and I'm going to be talking not just about me and the music industry and business. Be talking in kind of free format about fitness, all kinds of things, self-help. Lost a lot of friends in this music industry. It's brutal. Drugs, suicide, you name it. Just a lot of people in life, Life wasn't designed to be easy. So that's why we got to embrace the beauty of music. Everyone's got their heroes. I watched that movie, a documentary that Dave Grohl did, Sound City. Tom Petty was talking about how Carl Perkins was his hero and how he got to work with him. Everybody has their heroes, he said. Elvis Presley, that's mine. And in a weird way, I feel spiritually connected to him. It's not just an obsession, or I'm not just a fanboy. It's hard to explain, but unless you're into spirituality, you may find me weird. But you know what? Fuck it. I'm an artist. I'm a musician. I'm weird. I'm kind of creepy. But I don't care, because every genius, every historical figure has been deemed crazy or creepy or psychotic. But that's how you think outside of the box. I don't want to be like one of those sheep running around and living in the past. I coulda, shoulda, woulda. It's too late for me. Making excuses. I'm tired of making excuses. And all I want to do at this point, other than be like a Tim Mays, who, is about to celebrate 30 years at the Casbah, but his story is incredible. He's got his hands in so many different businesses. Great entrepreneur, great inspiration. He was my mentor, and if this was a Star Wars world, he'd be like Yoda to me. And I don't really know who I'd be if I was in Star Wars, but anyways, Han Solo maybe, because my name is Sulo. Never heard that joke before. But yeah. So that's currently where I'm at right now, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to this video. Even if you watch a little bit of it, hopefully it'll suck you in and entice you and captivate you to hold your short attention spans long enough to listen to this full video. And I will be launching videos from time to time, so feel free to tune in. Sometimes I'll go live. You can also subscribe to my channel and like my channel, share my channel, whatever. But that's a basic rundown of how I got in the music industry and why music has such a strong importance in my life. Music is the most powerful form of energy. I feel that it is the true key to unity, and there's nothing greater out there than it. Art is art, and everyone has their passion in life or needs help finding it. So if I can help you discover whatever hidden talent maybe you have, let's get to the root of what you like. For me, it started with music. Anyways, hope you guys have a great day or night wherever you guys are at in this part of the world. I'm here in sunny San Diego, and I'm going to get back to enjoying the rest of my day before I have to go to work. Alright? I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care. And remember, life is too short to listen to shitty music.